Sherm Chester with you on this special edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast, kind of a modified notebook edition. I hope everybody had a pleasant Easter holiday weekend, our first official holiday of spring. If you were a sports fan, it was kind of a special weekend because it was the home opener on Friday at Fenway Park. Now, the Red Sox won their season opener against the Cincinnati Reds, then dropped 2 games, and then came home to Fenway Park and unfortunately proceeded to lose. Well, they won the home opener, but they lost the next 2 games. So as we stand now, the season record is 2-7, and not where a lot of Red Sox fans expected the Red Sox to be in the standings, last place and 5.5 games behind the Yankees as we record this. You know, I hope, and before I continue, I just want to say I hope that people don't jump off the Red Sox bandwagon this quick, and I hope that the management doesn't try to do something stupid like fire Alex Cora. I talk about being a fantasy baseball player, and one of the worst mistakes you can make is to panic when your team starts off in last place or down in the bottom of the stack, because hitters take a while to warm up, including the weather. Now, that's one of my biggest beefs with Major League Baseball. The season starts too early, and they all seem to start in the wrong places. I know this year a lot of the teams did the American League, National League matchups. I don't understand why the leagues don't try to do everything west of the Mississippi. If they're going to start in April, start where it should be warmer. Not necessarily, I know, Mother Nature throws a lot of tricks, but try to come up with matchups early in the season where the weather is predominantly warmer or should be warmer. The East Coast, I mean, it's brutal for pitchers to pitch in the cold, and again, the hitters, it takes a while for them to warm up as well. So don't jump off the Red Sox bandwagon at this point, and please, Red Sox management, don't fire Alex Cora. Really, it's not his fault. I think he's the best thing that you got going for that team right now to try to hold it together, especially with a shaky start this season. Now, back to a fun week last week involving the Red Sox. Jay Pinsonnault, as we mentioned in previous programs, is a season ticket holder for the Red Sox. And one of the perks of being a season ticket holder is they have special events that they invite season ticket holders to. And last Thursday, before the season opener, the Red Sox had a special event where it featured some of the members of the 86 World Series Red Sox team. They had Bruce Hurst, Spike Owen, and Bob the Steamer Stanley from Newmarket, New Hampshire, as part of the team on the stage, and they were being interviewed by MC Mike Dowling, former weekender at WCVB-TV, Channel 5 in Boston. So it was a fun reunion with 3 of the guys, and we got to sit there and watch. We had front row seats. I had never been to the back end, the redesigned back end of Fenway Park. Wow. The 521 overlook is really impressive. Besides having a big function room, they have the studios down below. That's where Tom Caron does the pre and post game shows, looking towards home plate. Very impressive, and they've cleaned up Fenway Park area. It's been years since I was down there, so thank you, Jay, for the invitation to go down there and be part of that special event. The season started the following day with the 86 World Series championship team being honored as part of the festivities of opening day, and that was fun to see a lot of those guys. Nobody expected them to win the World Series or even be in the World Series. To be in the World Series and against a team like the New York Mets, that was an accomplishment. So while we were down there, I took a minute to talk with Jay about his take on meeting the 3 Red Sox legends.
They had a little panel discussion with 3 members of the 1986 World Series team, the 40th anniversary of that team that had that historic comeback against the California Angels in the ALCS, and then they had the as historic World Series against the New York Mets. So it was about 45 minutes to an hour, and a lot of reminiscing about that magical summer. A lot of good stories being told.
They came up a little short in '86. That one pitch that Bob Stanley admits about. You know, it could have gone either way. I mean, they called it a wild pitch, but some people feel it was a pass ball by Rich Gedman, the catcher, that day.
And I like the story. All 3 players shared stories from behind the scenes from that '86 season, and one of my favorites today was when Bob Stanley was talking about a game they had in Cleveland, and the game had to be called early because not because of rain, but because of fog. And after the game, the press goes up to, I'm assuming it was the Red Sox starting pitcher that day, Dennis Oil Can Boyd. And the quote that Stanley relayed to us today was, that's what happens when you build a stadium by the ocean. And yes, they were playing the Cleveland Indians. So the ocean that Oil Can was talking about was actually Lake Erie, which was where Cleveland Municipal Stadium was built right next to, when that stadium was often referred to as the mistake by the lake.
By the lake, yeah.
So that was, so Stanley was kind of funny the way he relayed that story about Oil Can, thinking that they were next to an ocean and not Lake Erie. So that was one of my favorites. And they talked about the Roger Clemens' first of two career strikeout games where he had 20 strikeouts in one game. And ironically, Spike Owen and David Henderson was on the Seattle Mariners team at that point early in the season in late April. And I think they contributed maybe five strikeouts to Clemens total that night. And 4 months down the road, Owen was on the team helping the Red Sox get to the World Series. He didn't bat well. They said today his batting average in the regular season, he was traded to the Red Sox on August 19th, and his batting average for the Sox in the remainder, 30 games in the regular season was 190 something. But in the ALCS, he batted like 450, and in the World Series, he batted 300. So they were talking about how clutch of a player he was, and he was brought in to shore up the defense. And the Red Sox sent out Ray Quinones, who was a promising young shortstop at the time, Mike Trujillo, a journeyman reliever, as well as Mike Brown. So 4 months after Dave Henderson and Spike Owen was part of Roger Clemens' first 20 strikeout game, they are now teammates. And I thought that was a good little tidbit of today's panel at Fenway.
And another thing that was brought up was the trades Lou Gorman, who was the GM at the time, made to improve the team. Of course, the Spike Owen Hendu trade. And then he brought in Tom Seaver.
Yeah, Tom Seaver for Steve Lyons. I believe it was a 1-for-1 trade. I remember when that trade went down in July of 1986. I was going into my sophomore year at high school, and I was at a youth basketball camp at Roger Williams College. And the big news around all the courts that night is that we traded Steve Lyons for Tom Seaver, who was definitely past his prime, but at 41 he could still get major league batters out. And I think they said that he went 5-7 and 15 starts for the Red Sox in '86, and he was not on the postseason roster due to a knee injury. And another good story that Bob Stanley shared today is that Tom Seaver was Bob's childhood favorite pitcher. And ironically, Tom Seaver's last win in the major leagues was saved by Bob Stanley. So I thought that was another good story today.
That was a nice full circle moment. And they mentioned that Bruce Hurst said that all those guys were young. They were in their 20s. And Tom Seaver at that time was 41. He could teach him a few things. And whether it was Roger Clemens, Bruce Hurst, even the steamer, even Bob Stanley said he got something, from working with Tom Seaver.
Now, the following day, the day after Jay and I were at Fenway, they had the opening day ceremonies, including bringing out that '86 team. And there were a lot of legends on the field, including Dwight Evans, Jim Ed Rice. One person that wasn't there, Roger Clemens, he didn't make it. And one that did make it that I was happy to see was good old Walpole Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan, still going strong. So he managed the Red Sox to a lot of success in his time. So it was great to see Joe Morgan at Fenway on Friday. Joe Morgan led the Red Sox to 2 American League East titles in 4 seasons as a manager, and he also was part of that all-time longest game in minor league history. It's great to see all those guys out on the field prior to the opener, and thank goodness Sonny Gray had a nice game and pitched the Red Sox to a victory. I'm part of Red Sox Nation. I'm not panicking. I hope that the management just holds tight and hopes the warm weather brings good things ahead. I know they got a hard schedule coming up. And the one pitcher on the Red Sox staff, I'm really looking forward to having a great season this year with the Sox and a great career ahead with the Red Sox, is Connerly Early. And he had a nice game over the weekend, came out on the losing end, but there's potential there. He reminds me a lot of a young Tom Glavine.
The comparisons that I've heard about Connerly Early is he kind of has the same makeup and the same pitches as a young Clayton Kershaw had when he first came up. And by all means, I'm not saying Connerly Early is Clayton Kershaw, or no one can expect that. But I think he is definitely a pitcher with a lot of promise, a lot of potential. And I'm glad, as we said last week on the show, that I'm glad the Red Sox gave him a spot in the rotation to begin the year and didn't send him down to Worcester to try to manipulate the service time and the contracts.
The spring baseball and softball season starts for the schoolboys and schoolgirls on April 13th. And ahead of it, Jay's been doing articles for Seacoast Media Group and Seacoast Online, where you can catch this one, the top 17 pitchers in the Seacoast.
A couple of them are going to Division I baseball next year, including Exeter's senior right-hander Ethan Battles. Ethan will be going to the University of Maine next year, and he will be one of 2 Exeter pitchers featured in the story, the other being a junior right-hander, Nolan Engler, who got the win in last year's Division I state championship game, and he will be one of the 17 as well, featured in the top pitchers in the Seacoast area.
Again, on Seacoast Media Group, all the different papers in the group, and on Seacoast Online, you can catch Jay Pinsonnault's article on the 17 Seacoast pitchers to watch in 2026 for high school baseball. And he will be featuring an article as well on the top prospects in softball, and the tennis season is actually underway. And Jay's been a busy man. He also has 2 other articles, and this is on a sport that is new to the Seacoast Media Group, their coverage of tennis. And he has an article about the 9 Seacoast High School girl tennis players to watch in 2026 and the 17 high school boy tennis players to watch in 2026. Those articles are also up on Seacoast Media Group and SeacoastOnline.com, where I get all of my sports. For the 2-minute drill, I just want to say congratulations to Exeter's Lexy Rogers, voted the Seacoast Girls Basketball Player of the Year by Seacoast Media Group. So congratulations to Lexy on not only a great season this year with the Bluehawks, but a great career as well. Thanks again to Jay for having me tag along. That was fun to go down to Fenway Park. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've been there, but it was fun to go down there and see Bruce Hurst, Spike Owen, and the Steamer, Bob Stanley. If you're enjoying the program, please pass the word. We're on all the major podcast platforms, and we love hearing from you. Just drop us a line at seacoastsportsforum@yahoo.com. So on behalf of Jay Pinsonnault of the Seacoast Media Group, and you can catch his byline at seacoastonline.com, this is Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast.